had a very long meeting tonight, but anytime that happens, there is one great thing to take away from, and that is that people showed up. That means people in our community cared about something that was on the agenda or a topic, and they wanted to come talk about it. And so many times people say, this is my first time coming to something like this. And so when they sit through and hear other things that are going on, they get a window into what we're doing at county council. They understand how important it is to be involved in your county and your towns and your municipalities. So tonight there were a couple of key things on the agenda. One was the final reading of a Second Amendment ordinance, and this started way back in February, where a group of citizens came and said, hey, we basically want a proclamation, an ordinance saying Anderson County supports the Second Amendment. And this went through a committee which had citizens, it had the sheriff, it had different council members, and they went with legal guidance on how could they craft this the right way to say what they wanted it to, but not to overstep the bounds of the county and our abilities. And so that came up on third reading tonight. There were many people here who were in support of that. There were some people who spoke against it, but I think in all, everybody who was for or against it wanted the public to be safe. They just differed on the approach on how to make the public safe. So that was a good thing that went on through. We had a couple of economic development items, and that's always encouraging. So as we're talking about all these issues, we always want to make sure that we're facilitating an environment that brings more jobs to Anderson and gives people opportunity across the board. And so that was a positive thing. We went through a series of rezonings, and rezonings is always a hot topic, and we try to explain some of the nuances of state law. If something's unzoned, there's different rules and mechanisms for people to do things with property, as opposed to when it's zoned. And zoned just means at some point in time that community came together and decided on some zoning rules. That doesn't lock it in forever. But if somebody wants to do something different in a zoned area after those rules have been established, they have to come before council. And so many times it's not very controversial. It's somebody wants to do a little bit something different with agriculture or a different building. But tonight we had some that affected a high density potential residential development on the Wild Hog Road area near Pendleton High School. And so a lot of residents enjoy a farm community out there, a rural way of life out past Pendleton High School. And this was going to bring more houses. Now, it was coming for a good reason because there's more jobs and it's a growing area, but people differed on the amount of houses and the density of houses. So what council did tonight, and it's done this in the past, nothing like this passes unless it's voted on 3 times in 3 separate meetings. Council said, we're going to vote for it tonight because we want the community and the developer to work harder on coming to a consensus of what they want to see, and then hopefully by second time we vote on it, then everybody is in general agreement. If not, we don't have to keep moving forward, but if so, we've seen it in the past that people can work together. So we wanted to give that a chance. So that brought out a lot of speakers tonight where people were talking about how they wanted to see their community, what they didn't want to see in their community. It was a positive thing. So going from there, we had a report from the Public Safety Committee meeting where we're going to do these, what they call QRVs, quick response vehicles with paramedics that are going to assist our EMS to be able to get to people faster. And whenever EMS comes to your house, they want to make sure that if it's really serious, like a heart attack or a stroke, they got the right people on site. If it's not as serious, they want to have the right people on site. But either way, they want to be there quickly and they want to have the right people. And so then we talked about some procurement items with radio for EMS and some basic things. So at the end of the meeting, we had a lot of public comment about the Confederate statue in front of the courthouse. Many people wanted to keep it up, but then a lot of people wanted to take it down. People talked about different views of the Civil War. People talked, there was consensus that slavery was bad, but people talked about different reasons for the Civil War and what that monument meant to them. At the end of the day, County Council listened to everybody and facilitated an environment where everybody was respectful of each other, but actually due to state law, This is something that's decided in Columbia. That's decided in the House in Columbia and the Senate in Columbia, and that was passed a number of years ago. So I would imagine that these comments and these things will be passed on to folks who interact in Columbia, and this will be an ongoing issue. But tonight it was well received. I think everybody was respectful of each other, and it was a good community event tonight. And so at the end of the night, as always, we had remarks from council and very little business after that. So it was a long meeting, but it was due to maybe some key issues that people were passionate about.